Welcome back, everybody. We're diving into some pretty fascinating concepts today. Islamic tradition and Fethullah Gulen's philosophy. We'll be looking at Ramadan fasting,
Okay.
Jihad, and Hizmet.
Wow.
You might be thinking,
Yeah.
how can those possibly be connected? Well,
Yeah.
we're going to find out. And our guides for this journey are an article and an excerpt,
Yep.
both titled The Ramadan Fast, Jihad, and Hizmet in the World of Fethullah Gulen by
Interesting.
Ori Z. Soltes.
It really is quite remarkable how these concepts,
Yeah,
often perceived as very separate,
right.
intertwine so deeply within Islamic thought.
Yeah, and fasting is something that pops up across different religions and
Right.
cultures throughout history, not just in Islam.
Oh, absolutely.
Right,
Think about Yom Kippur in Judaism,
of course.
Lent in Christianity.
Uh-huh.
Even ancient cultures like the Incas and Native Americans
Mhm.
incorporated fasting into their spiritual practices.
So what is the underlying purpose of all this?
Well,
Well, not eating.
basically it's about consciously stepping back from the material world, from our physical needs,
Okay.
to connect with something
Yeah.
larger than ourselves.
Okay.
It's a way to cultivate a sense of the divine.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But how does Ramadan approach this idea of fasting?
Well, Ramadan takes it a step further.
Okay.
It's not just about abstaining from food and drink from dawn till dusk.
Yeah.
It's about maintaining your daily life, your work,
Yeah.
your responsibilities
Oh, wow.
while fasting. And it involves these beautiful
Okay.
communal rituals, like the suhoor meal before dawn and the iftar meal,
Right.
to break the fast each evening.
So it's almost like a test of willpower.
Yeah.
But also a reminder of the importance of community and shared experience.
Exactly.
No.
But there's another crucial element to Ramadan fasting
Yep.
that often gets overlooked. It's not just about the food. It's about purifying yourself on multiple levels.
Oh, you mean like watching what you say and even your thoughts?
Precisely.
Okay.
It brings us to the concept of taqwa,
Oh.
which is a state of deep awareness of God's presence.
Uh-huh.
This awareness helps you resist negative impulses and strive for ethical behavior.
So it's not just a license to be grumpy just because you're hungry.
Not at all.
Okay, good.
It's about inner transformation,
Yeah.
about aligning your thoughts, words, and actions with your spiritual aspirations.
All right, now that we've got a better grasp of fasting,
Okay?
let's wade into a concept that's
Yeah.
often misunderstood
Yes.
and even misrepresented.
Of course.
Jihad.
Yeah.
It's a word that carries a lot of baggage,
It does.
especially in the West.
Absolutely. So how do we unpack this complex term?
Right.
Soltes presents jihad as a struggle on 3 different levels.
3 levels. Okay, I'm intrigued.
The first level is the personal jihad.
Okay.
This is your internal struggle to be the best Muslim you can be,
Uh-huh.
striving for self-improvement, resisting temptations,
Yeah.
deepening your spiritual connection.
So it's all about that inner battle we all face.
Exactly.
Like that constant effort to live up to our ideal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the second level is community jihad.
Okay.
This involves working to make the Muslim community,
Okay.
the ummah,
Right.
a better, more faithful place.
So I imagine that includes things like
Yes.
supporting those in need,
Mhm.
promoting social justice within the community,
Uh,
fostering a stronger sense of unity.
you hit the nail on the head.
Okay.
Now, the third level of jihad is where things get a little more complicated.
Right.
This level goes beyond the Muslim world,
Yeah.
beyond what's called the Dar al-Islam.
And historically,
Yeah,
this is where things get controversial, right? Because this level of jihad has been interpreted in very different ways.
you're right. It's been understood as everything from peaceful dialogue
Right.
and cultural exchange to, unfortunately, armed conflict.
Yeah.
And this is where the human element of interpretation comes into play.
Yeah.
Divine revelation
Mhm.
meets the complexities of human understanding.
And just like any sacred text, the Quran is open to different interpretations, which is why jihad has manifested in so many ways throughout history.
Precisely.
Right.
We also have to remember that within Islam, there are internal divisions that stem from these different
Sure.
interpretations.
It's like the Sunni schism.
Exactly.
Or even the various schools of jurisprudence.
Yeah.
So it's not this monolithic, unified belief system
Right.
that many people outside of Islam might perceive it to be.
Absolutely.
But this leads to a pretty tough question, doesn't it?
Well, if you believe you found the right path,
Right.
do you have an obligation to bring others to it?
Yeah.
And if so, how far are you willing to go? It's a
Nah.
question that has fueled debate and even conflict for centuries.
And one that will keep your mind
Yeah.
as we continue to delve deeper into this topic.
For sure.
Now, I understand there's another dimension to this idea of jihad that we should explore.
Okay.
The mystical path of Sufism.
Sufism offers a completely different perspective on jihad.
Okay.
It emphasizes a direct, personal experience of the divine.
Uh-huh.
It's about an inner transformation
Okay.
and seeking spiritual enlightenment.
And within Sufism, there's this fascinating paradox
Yeah.
about achieving unity with God.
You're referring to the concept of fauna.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Okay.
It's the idea that to be filled with God,
Yeah.
you have to empty yourself of ego, to dissolve your sense of self into the divine.
Exactly.
But I've heard this can be a pretty intense
It can be.
and even risky path.
It absolutely can be. Imagine experiencing such profound oneness with God,
Right.
a complete loss of your individual identity.
Yeah.
That's ecstasis.
Right.
But the key is being able to return to your normal self,
Okay.
to integrate that experience and bring
Mhm.
back the wisdom you've gained.
So if you can't make that return journey,
It can be dangerous. You risk getting lost in that state of oneness,
I see.
which could lead to psychological and spiritual turmoils.
Yeah.
It's a path that requires careful guidance
Right.
and deep self-awareness.
Soltes actually mentions two famous Sufis,
Right.
Ibn al-Arabi
Yeah.
and Jalaluddin Rumi,
Of course.
who had some pretty radical views about this, Rick.
Both of these figures push the boundaries of conventional religious thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Ibn al-Arabi, for instance,
Yeah.
believed that his heart could take on any form, a mosque, a synagogue, even a meadow.
Wow.
Because for him, love transcended all religious differences.
That's a powerful image.
Yeah.
And then there's Rumi,
Yeah.
who famously declared that he wasn't confined to any single religion.
He saw one altar in every place of worship,
Yeah.
recognizing the divine unity
Right.
underlying all faiths.
Yeah.
These are powerful examples of how mystical experiences can lead to a profound sense of interconnectedness
Yeah.
and challenge traditional boundaries.
It's amazing how Sufism offers such a different lens through which to view spirituality
Yeah.
and the idea of jihad.
Absolutely.
And it makes me wonder, how does all of this connect to Fethullah Gulen and his teachings?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And that's where we'll pick up in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
Gulen is a modern Islamic scholar
Yeah?
who has taken these mystical ideas,
Mm-hmm.
particularly this concept of selfless service,
Right.
and turned them into a global movement.
Right.
It's truly remarkable.
Okay, you've definitely piqued my curiosity. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back to unpack Fethullah Gulen's unique philosophy
Sounds good.
and how it redefines the concept of jihad in a profound way.
Looking forward to it.
All right, we're back and ready to dive into Fethullah Gulen's philosophy.
Okay.
You were telling us how he's reinterpreted some of these complex Islamic concepts,
Yeah.
especially the idea of jihad.
Gulen's approach is truly groundbreaking.
Okay.
He redefines jihad as Hizmet,
Uh-huh.
which translates to altruistic service.
Okay.
It's about putting your faith into action,
Yeah.
not through conquest or coercion,
Right.
but through acts of service that benefit humanity.
So instead of focusing on the more militaristic interpretations of jihad that we often hear about, Gulen is emphasizing the importance of making a positive impact on the world through
Yeah.
concrete actions.
Exactly. For Gulen, true jihad is about actively loving God's creation
Okay.
and demonstrating that love through education,
Uh-huh.
poverty alleviation, interfaith dialogue.
Yeah.
These are the battlegrounds where positive change can be achieved.
That's a powerful shift in perspective.
It is.
And I understand that Gulen has actually inspired a whole movement
He is.
based on this concept of Hizmet.
Gulen's teachings have resonated with millions around the world,
Wow.
leading to the establishment of a vast network of schools, charities, and organizations dedicated to promoting education,
Yeah.
interfaith understanding, and social welfare.
It sounds like a truly global movement.
It is.
So what are the core principles driving this Hizmet movement? What makes it so unique?
Well, Gulen emphasizes a few key ideas.
Okay.
One is the concept of dialogue. He believes in the power of open and respectful communication between people of different faiths and cultures.
That makes sense, especially in today's world.
Absolutely.
Right, where we're facing so much polarization and division.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Gulen also stresses the importance of education as a means of empowering individuals
Right.
and fostering critical thinking.
Mm-hmm.
He sees education as a crucial tool for social progress and personal development.
And this idea of selfless service, of his Hizmet itself, seems to run through it all.
It does. Gulen's movement is rooted in the belief that we are all God's stewards
Okay.
or caliphas on earth.
Right.
Our purpose, our jihad, is to live up to that responsibility by making the world a more just,
Yeah.
compassionate, and peaceful place.
It's a beautiful and inspiring vision.
It is.
But I have to ask,
Sure.
how does Gulen's interpretation of jihad fit within the broader context of Islamic thought?
Yeah.
Does it align with traditional understandings of this complex concept?
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Gulen's teachings draw heavily from the mystical tradition of Sufism,
Right.
which we discussed earlier.
Yeah.
Remember how Sufi masters like Rumi and Ibn al-Arabi
Yeah.
emphasized the importance of love, selflessness,
Right.
and transcending religious boundaries?
Right. They had those radical ideas about seeing the divine in everyone and everything.
Exactly.
It seems like Gulen is tapping into that same vein of thought.
He is.
Yeah.
Gulen's emphasis on Hizmet aligns with the Sufi emphasis on selfless service
Okay.
and the pursuit of spiritual enlightenment through acts of love and compassion.
Uh-huh.
He sees these actions as a form of jihad,
Right.
a struggle to overcome our own ego and contribute to the well-being of all creation.
So in a way, he's reinterpreting traditional Islamic concepts through this lens of
Precisely.
mystical experience and personal transformation.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And it's important to note that Gulen's views aren't universally accepted within the Muslim world.
Right.
Some traditional scholars question his interpretations of jihad and other Islamic concepts.
That's understandable. Whenever you have someone challenging long-held beliefs and interpretations, there's bound to be some pushback.
Of course. But what's fascinating is how Gulen's teachings have resonated with so many people,
Yeah.
both within and outside of the Muslim community.
Right.
His emphasis on dialogue, education, and service has a universal appeal. It transcends religious and cultural boundaries.
That's what makes this deep dive so fascinating.
Yeah.
We're exploring concepts that might seem very specific to one religion,
Right?
but they actually touch upon universal human values and aspirations.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
And I think that's the real takeaway here.
Right.
Whether you're a devout Muslim,
Yeah.
a follower of another faith,
Uh-huh.
or someone who doesn't subscribe to any particular religion,
Right.
there's something profoundly relevant in Gulen's teachings about Hizmet.
There is.
Yeah.
It's a call to action.
It is.
An invitation to make the world a better place through concrete acts of service, compassion, and understanding. It's about recognizing our shared humanity and striving to create a more just and peaceful world.
Exactly. And it's a vision that can be embraced by people from all walks of life,
Right.
regardless of their background or beliefs.
So as we wrap up this discussion,
Okay.
I'm curious what stands out to you most about Gulen's philosophy.
What resonates with me is the idea that true jihad is not about fighting
Yeah.
or imposing your beliefs on others.
Right.
It's about actively engaging with the world in a positive way,
Mm-hmm.
contributing to the well-being of all beings,
Yeah.
and making a tangible difference through acts of service and compassion.
That's a powerful insight.
It is.
And it's a message that we can all take to heart regardless of our background or beliefs.
Absolutely.
So for our listeners out there, think about this.
Okay.
If true jihad is about selfless service,
Mm.
how can you apply that concept to your own life?
Yeah.
What small acts of kindness or service can you do today to make the world a little bit better?
It's a question worth pondering.
It is.
And it brings us to the core of Gulen's message. Each of us has the power to make a positive impact on the world,
Right.
one act of service at a time.
So as we move into the final part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I want to encourage you, our listeners, to reflect on this idea of Hizmet
Yeah.
and how it might inspire you to engage with the world in a more compassionate and meaningful way. Welcome back. We've been on quite a journey, from Ramadan fasting to the complexities of jihad and the mysticism of Sufism. We've covered so much.
Yeah. And we've seen how Fethullah Gulen has kind of woven these different ideas together
Right.
to create a vision of Islam that centers around service, dialogue, and understanding.
It's been eye-opening to see how he's reinterpreted jihad,
Yeah.
shifting the focus from conflict
Got it.
to inward transformation and outward service.
Yeah, Gulen's concept of Hizmet, this idea of altruistic service, isn't just some theory.
Right.
It's manifested in a very real, tangible way
Yeah.
through the movement he's inspired.
Right. We've talked about the schools, charities, and organizations that have sprung up all around the world, dedicated to putting Gulen's philosophy into practice. But I'm
Yes.
curious,
Yeah.
What impact has this movement actually had? Can we point to concrete examples
Oh,
of
absolutely.
how Hizmet is making a difference?
The Hizmet movement has had a profound impact in many areas.
Okay.
Take education, for instance.
Oh.
Gulen-inspired schools have earned a reputation for academic excellence
Wow.
and a commitment to fostering critical thinking and interfaith understanding.
Okay.
They've provided quality education to countless students,
Uh-huh.
many from disadvantaged backgrounds.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So it's not just about preaching tolerance and understanding.
Right.
It's about creating environments where those values can be lived and experienced firsthand.
Exactly. And the impact extends beyond education.
Okay.
Hizmet-inspired organizations are actively involved in disaster relief, poverty alleviation, and healthcare initiatives around the world.
Wow.
They're on the ground working to address some of the most pressing challenges facing humanity.
It's inspiring to see how this concept of selfless service is being translated into real action, making a tangible difference in people's lives.
And it's not just about providing material assistance.
Right. Yeah.
The Hizmet movement is also actively promoting dialogue and understanding between different cultures and faiths. They're building bridges, fostering connections, and challenging prejudice and stereotypes.
So it's a multifaceted approach
It is.
to creating a better world. It's about addressing practical needs, fostering intellectual growth, and promoting empathy and understanding.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes Gulen's vision so compelling.
Right.
It's not just some utopian ideal.
Right.
It's a blueprint for action, a call to engage with the world in a positive, transformative way.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought.
Okay.
We've explored all these really fascinating concepts, but the real question is, how can we take these ideas and apply them to our own lives?
That's the challenge, isn't it? To move beyond intellectual exploration and embrace the spirit of Hizmet in our own way.
Right. It's about asking ourselves, how can we, in our own unique circumstances, contribute to making the world a more compassionate, just, and understanding place?
It might be through small acts of kindness, volunteering our time, engaging in meaningful conversations, or simply approaching the world with a more open heart and mind.
Exactly. The path of Hizmet is a journey, not a destination.
It is.
It's about striving to embody these values in our daily lives. One step at a time.
And who knows? Perhaps by embracing this spirit of selfless service, we can collectively contribute to creating the kind of world that Gulen envisioned. A world where dialogue triumphs over division, where compassion overcomes conflict, and where humanity's shared potential can truly flourish.
And on that inspiring note, we'll bring this deep dive to a close.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course.
On this journey of discovery.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you've gained new insights and, more importantly, a renewed sense of purpose and possibility.
I think we all have.